Hey, it's me, Renee. I'm back, and today I'm going to talk about something that I don't talk about it's very often. Well, yeah, not that often, but it's not book related. I do sometimes talk about other stuff, but let's say not often. Not haven't talked about it that much often. Lately, often. How many times can I say often in a video? But yeah. So this is kind of inspired by a kind of debate, kind of a debate or a issue that's been kind of been popping up few every few months or sometimes every few years, like depends a bit. And it's the whole debate of like the MCU, it's ruining cinema, which it's not. So Martin Scorsese is very famous for saying that the MCU is trash, and then there's other directors and actors who say the MCU. I won't be doing MCU stuff because that's not legitimate. Which, yeah, okay. So I have an issue with this whole thing. But I'm gonna start with saying, okay, so there's 2 points to this. One is that the MCU is not legitimate, it's just popcorn nonsense, it's just explosions, nothing more. And one is, that it's, yeah. The other side, it's bad movies. Okay, so firstly, I'm gonna say, not I'm saying it's bad movies. Well, there's a lot of them now, so some of them aren't great, but still, Um, so even if we kind of went into this weird world where all MCU movies are trash, like there's it's like on a general scale, they're nothing worth watching. Even if we're gonna live in, okay, let's play that we live in this world that they're just action and explosions. Honestly, in today's world, all those kinds of movies matter. Those kinds of movies are important. Because in today's hello, in today's awful world, you have idiot politicians, well, in the States, but also everywhere, someplace else. Not that much in Norway, luckily, but still. You have the climate crisis, you have the pan pizza. I mean, there's a lot of awful things in the world at the moment. And also, like, even if you just take like me living in Norway, having a pretty decent life, in comparison to a lot of people in the world, I'm white, I'm straight, I'm privileged, I have a lot of privileges. But even if you take my case, I still have bad days, I still have bad weeks. So having a action movie, you can just go into the movie and just see lots of action and to not be reminded of the real world or to kind of just get an escape. Like escapism is very important. It is. It gives you a breather from awful days or awful times, and yeah, having a breather and a step away from that kind of days, it's important. It's very important for people who don't have a lot of troubles, and for people who have lots of them. They are important. They are very important. So just saying that action movies and explosion movies have no value in like just being explosive, yeah, that's wrong. Completely wrong. I disagree with on all levels. Also, side note, lately Michael Bay has criticized the MCU. And I'm like, okay, so you're a lot. I was say mostly, yeah, he's mostly famous, at least in my head, for the Transformers videos. Are they that much more valid? Like, do they have that much more depth than the MCU that people like claim the MCU have? I mean, Transformers, it's giant robots saving the world with different degrees of interesting humans. I mean, Okay, and this is a bit bad coming from me. I haven't actually seen a whole Transformers movie except Bumblebee, which I really enjoyed, but that's kind of the one that everyone thinks is awesome or good. I haven't seen the original ones. Well, I haven't seen a whole original Transformers. I've seen scenes here and there, and honestly, they don't really interest me that much. But like in general, they're not really like I can still get the gist of them from the trailers, I would say. And yeah, big robots saving the world is that much more important than superheroes saving the world? I mean, in a way, they're kind of on the same level on one way because they're sadly both as unlikely. I suppose you could say, I mean, like Bruce Banner, maybe it can happen because it's based on like science, so maybe that happens sometimes. But like, um, the Guardians of the Galaxy, that's probably not a thing for in real life ever. But who knows? Maybe. I have a small hope. But yeah, like just on the basis of like it's just escapism and stupid trash. It's not valuable. Well, if you live in that world, I would say it's still valuable because escapism is important. It's highly valuable, and it's escapism. And also second, like also a lot of people often talk about so it's kind of the same, but like people talk about how the MCU it's not important movies. They're not high value movies. They're not art movies. Just trash, which I suppose is another way of saying they're trash, which I said earlier. And also like again, do all movies have to be important? No, they don't. Also, in a way, I'm gonna give you an example here. So like look at every like your work, like MCU movies kind of look like just you kind of think it's just movies, but a lot of people work on them. The people who direct them, who act in them, people who make the special effects, they're all jobs. They're all doing a job, and so so you've like Elizabeth Olsen recently said, you kind of when you're saying MCU movies are awful, you're saying that all these people working on them are doing a bad job or uh, 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 non-important job, and that's not cool. That's not cool. And also, like, okay, so if you're saying that the all MCU movies are awful, like you should work on other movies, like movies in general are good, but like not the MCU. So, are you then saying like, think of like something else? Like, think of if you're a lawyer, aren't all the cases as important? Like, are just some cases important? I mean, like everything in a person's work is important. Yes, I suppose in some ways, like if you work in the UN or the the jury in Hague, yeah, that's slightly a different level. But all cases are important. I mean, people saying some things aren't important. I don't like it. Don't like it. Um, yeah, they are very important. Yeah, I was also kind of thinking like, okay, so if you're going on saying the MCU movies have no value or have no importance or no value, they're not good. Okay, so that's just bad in a lot of ways. But like for example, if you have this mindset, because that seems like you have this mindset that all movies have to be important, they have to be highbrow, they have to be something that changes the world. Yeah, okay. So let's think of it in a different way. So, for example, people's lives. Like the important days in people's lives are when you get married, when you give birth to your kid, or the day you get a kid if you're adopting. Uh, it's the important day is when you get your first job. I mean, there's these milestones that you have in your life if you're lucky. But yeah, I mean, I suppose everyone has some kind of milestones. But like It's not like you're gonna get married 365 days of the year. It's not like you're gonna get a new job or a higher raise 365 days of the year. And most days are normal. Most days are not that significant. They're kind of your everyday day. I mean, life is kind of made up of the weekday, of the normal day, where nothing important happen. So saying that, and I would say that's kind of the same category as like, yeah, like MCU movies and like everyday days. And I suppose it's very also vital because there's a lot of MCU movies. There's a lot of everyday days now. So you're saying that those two kind of things that I'm kind of like in this example making at similar things. Bear with me. So you're saying that those are not important? I mean, if you're saying that just the milestone things are important, that's very few. I suppose maybe you're thinking that, well, yeah, if you have a lot of something, it's not good. Which again, it's not really good of thinking. Like, so you're saying that like if you have, I don't know, if you're having a dinner with a lot of food, that's not good because it's a lot of something. Or if you're having a dinner party with a lot of guests, you're doing it wrong because it's a lot. You have to have few. I mean, quantity, it's not always bad. I mean, yeah, you have a saying of quality or quantity, but like if you have a lot of something, it can still be good. So, also very weird thinking in my mind. I mean, what I'm kind of getting to here is like it shouldn't it shouldn't be just the important or the milestone things that are valuable or good. You should appreciate the everyday thing as well. The normal things, the things that aren't amazing. But this is kind of a side point because in my mind, a lot of MCU movies are amazing. They are. Okay, so yeah, but now I'm kind of stuck. I'm kind of talking about that part of it, and that's as I said in a kind of dream world because that's not reality. Because honestly, saying that the MCU movies are unimportant, are just fluff, just popcorn, yeah, I don't think any of them can actually have seen an MCU movie. It was not all of them, but like quite a few of them, at least like some in the beginning, are quite anyway revolutionary. Like the first Iron Man movie, it starts with a guy who's billionaire based on weapons. Like he's rich because of weapons. He gets kidnapped, and it kind of changes his mind. He realizes that making money out of weapons is not a cool thing. He stops that at the end of the movie. He's still a bit arrogant, yeah, but he stops profiting of weapons, which is a quite good message. It starts with him being egotistical and just a jerk and making money out of war, which not cool, and ends with him being slightly less egotistical, slightly less jerk, but making money in different ways. Which, yes, that's a great message. And honestly, that message there, I don't really think that's been really said that much in that many movies, like around that time. It's not really that common. So that message in itself, quite important. I suppose, yeah, if you kind of been around the block, you do kind of know that war is not cool. But like often in movies and stuff, like they're kind of glossing on and thinking like, "Oh, war is so cool. I need money and I don't care about how I earn money and I'm so cool." So having a movie where the lead person realizes the war and weapons is not cool, yeah, that's very good. I love that idea behind it. It's just very important. And then the second one, you have like I'm just kind of talking about the first MCU movies because that's where it started. Then you have Captain America, which is about a guy who was a hero before he became a hero because of how how he treats other people. He doesn't like bullies. He's nice to people. He has a great personality. Like, not everyone, like, a lot of people can build muscle and can be strong, but to be good, like, be nice and be emphatic in the way that Steve Rogers is, it's not something every man does, really. So, yeah, his values are quite important. And, yeah, it's just a very great role model, showing about how it's what's inside your head and, like, what's inside, and not how many muscles you have, that's important, but what you do, your actions, that's speak for yourself, that's very important. It's a great message. And then you have four, which is about a guy being egotistical and learning about, okay, so these humans aren't that awful, and yeah, being more humble, and that's also a great message. So yeah, all these MCU movies have great messages. I'll just have had just give you a few examples, but I would say more or less all of them, even the ones that are not that good, like Iron Man 2 and 4 2, they still have great messages and still like great parts, but still like great ideas at the bottom of them. So saying that the MCU is awful, no, that doesn't hold up, because these messages are just amazing. And that's just the beginning of them. But then after a while, you have when you have, for example, Civil War. I mean, Civil War was an amazing movie that made you kind of think, well, he's right, but he's also right, and that's kind of true in a lot of things in the world. Like, very rarely things are black and white. Often, both people have in an argument have a logic, have a reason behind it, have something you can think, oh, that's true, but also that's also true. But also it's also again about how you act. Like, yes, this can be true, this can be true, but it's often good to talk without, going to war with people you disagree with. It's more about seeing things from both sides and trying to like get to a middle point and trying to get to a point where you can work together. So yeah, Civil War is quite really good in that side, because I mean, having a conflict when you agree with both parts, that's not something that happens all the time, but, like in movies, but it's something that happens in life, and that's, yeah, true to life, very important. And then of course Thanos, which scary villain, but also he kind of had a point, because like when I said like how humans are destroying the world, or like people are destroying the world, overpopulation, that's actually quite a true thing from real life. Though I suppose that wasn't quite how it was in comics, but like I'm talking about MCU movies, not the comics. Uh, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people like went out of the movie saying like, great movie. He also did kind of have a point, which he kind of did in some ways. But I mean, still, like, I mean, yeah, it's overpopulation, but I'm kind of thinking, like, instead of snapping and killing half of the galaxy's population, I mean, you can't talk to them about, like, reproduction methods. I mean, people don't need to procreate that much. I mean, you can educate them instead of killing them. So, but yeah, I mean, the idea that the world is overpopulated, it's not wrong. But the way he solved it, not cool. But yeah, I mean, it got people thinking, and it's actually a thing that we talk about in real life as well. Like, the world today has a lot of people, and it's kind of damaging in some way the earth. So that's a quite true sentiment, really. And like, just besides those things, having an action movie, well, like, at least in my head, and I think in a lot of people's heads, the MCU is kind of known for being both like great, great action scenes, but also great humor. Like, they have uh great humor in them, all of them, in the different characters and the push out of water elements, and yeah, you often think of them as these kind of great one-liners and great humorous scenes. And I won't say not all action movies are also funny, but the MCU often is. And I would say that's in a way that kind of what makes the MCU great. Like that. Okay, so the messages, the humor, and the action, and well, of course the characters. But yeah, that's kind of important of why they become so become so loved. So yeah, I would say yeah, they're quite important. Like at least for me, escapism can't just be action; it has to kind of be humor in it as well. And I think that's kind of yeah a big reason why I love the MCU because it's so funny. It's not just punch, 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 but it's punching with yeah with some humor as well as hands. And yeah, I think that's very very important. Also, lastly, I was about to say something. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Lastly, I want to say, so all these people complaining about how MCU it's just all everyone talks about and it's not good and blah 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 blah. I mean, I would say it's two things in a way because people just dissing on the MCU that's bad, and then sometimes interviews ask directors, "Do you want to work for the MCU movie?" And they say, "No, I don't think so." And then that director um, gets kind of booed by the people. It's like not every director needs to be able to do all the movies. I mean, not all actors want to do all kind of movies. That's fine. You shouldn't be mad at people for not wanting to say yes to everything. I mean, some people, yeah, they want to try everything and do everything, and some people kind of want to be more stay into one genre or to like stay away from superheroes, and that's fine. Not everyone loves everything, wants to try everything. That's fine. What I'm having an issue with, as you know, is that when people diss it. I mean, saying you want to try it, but you respect it, it's fine. But saying that you don't like this as a concept, yeah, not cool, not cool. Sorry, and then lastly, so the MCU now at this point it's 20 years in. Well, 20 years, 15 years. Okay, so not 20, but I suppose probably going with 20 years. It's well, I suppose it's one way it's 20 years because it started in 2008, and then it went all through 2010s, and then went over 2020s. So it's been 2 decades, but it's not been two full decades. But yeah, you know what I mean. So it's been a lot of years. 25 movies, I want to say, I think. And you also have some short movies like uh, the one when it's Slattery in prison. And then you have, I suppose, in a way you could say all the MCU end credits are short movies in a way because well, not all of them, but like some can be seen as like an own thing. So that's also like our own thing. And then you have the TV series lately, these last few years. Well, you had Agent Carter, and then you had Netflix movies, Netflix series, and now you have the Disney Plus series. So the MCU, it's kind of been like it's kind of being a big thing at the moment. Yeah, MCU TV series and movies. So yeah, there's a lot of it now. Not all of them is like hugely successful, but like in the MCU terms, like if a movie in the MCU is kind of um not being seen by people, it's often still a big success. Like a MCU kind of bad movie could still have like uh I don't know 10 million money in like 2 3 days, which a movie that's not part of the MCU would only dream of. So that's probably a weird number. Like okay, so think a high number in the outside of the MCU. That's kind of oh my god high, but in the MCU something normal like something amazing gets all the money, all the views, and then the movies that get some of the views I kind of still hear, but it's still a part of the close to the top. So a bad MCU movie still gets lots of money, so lots of people watch it, and yeah. Yeah, all these people watching MCU movies, are we white trash? Are we stupid then for watching them? I mean, because when you're criticizing the MCU, you're also criticizing all the people who watched it. That's not cool. And also, a lot of people are watching it. So can the MCU be that awful if a lot of people are watching it? I mean, we're voting with our money. We're consumers, and if we consume something, a lot of us consume something. It can't be that bad. I suppose, yeah. I mean, just because a lot of people do something doesn't mean it's good. But that many people, for example, Black Panther broke all the records, and that's an MCU movie. It's a different one, but it's inside MCU. And you're saying that it's awful? Yeah, I'm saying that you should think think about what you're saying. You should do some research and really put your thinking cat on. Cat. Put your thinking hat on, because what you're saying, yeah, it's just disrespectful and not cool. And I'm not having it. I'm not having it. And yeah, that's kind of my thoughts about this. And kind of fun. I've been thinking about doing it for a week or two. But yeah, now I have it. Now I've filmed it. And I woke up today with the She-Hulk trailer. Really, really enjoyed it. It looks different, but it's still in the MCU. And also, yeah, people saying the MCU is so bad. I mean, the MCU at this point in time, there's so many different kinds of types of MCU. You have Ant-Man, which is a heist movie. You have Iron Man, which is kind of more traditional MCU. And then you have traditional superhero. Then you have Captain America, which, well, I suppose the first one is historical. I mean, you have so many different kinds of movies, and you're saying they're all awful? Doesn't make much sense. That's just laziness. Laziness. Yeah. So yeah, have you seen the MCU? I suppose probably all of you have. Maybe not all of you. Uh, do you have a favorite MCU movie, or maybe you're one people against MCU? Hopefully, you'll starting to think that it's a bit of a weird place to die on, weird hill to die on, at least in my head. And yeah, that's my video for today. And yeah, I hope you liked it and that I kind of get my points across. And bye. Hope you have a nice day, evening, whatever. Bye.